Hi everyone, happy Monday! Wow, Monday. I hope everyone had a really good weekend. Happy Mother's Day, happy family time. I had a lovely, lovely weekend with my family. They were very sweet to me, as they always are. Um, and I got to talk to my mom yesterday, which was really nice. So, hope everyone had a great weekend. So this week, I don't have a theme for this week, but I have some fun songs, as always, some fun books, and then on Wednesday, I'll have a fun art project. So I have this week, and then next week will be my last week of videos. Crazy. Can you believe that? I started this 8 weeks ago, thinking it was just a temporary thing. It's been 8 weeks of it. It's been fun, though. I've been enjoying singing and reading stories for you and showing you some fun projects. So, let's start with some songs. And I have one in progress that I know you guys, many of you probably know this song, but I'm still learning. I'm on the ukulele, the second verse. But I will do my best. All right, so let's sing Cuckoo. The winter time is over, the month of April gone. Now comes the month of May, when you hear the cuckoo song. Cuckoo, cuckoo, she's singing all day long. Now comes the month of May, when you hear the cuckoo song. The snow on every mountain is melting very fast, and now the pretty cuckoo can build her nest at last. Cuckoo, cuckoo, she's singing all day long. Now comes the month of May, when you hear the cuckoo song. A girl stands by her window to hear the cuckoo sing, to think about her sweetheart and welcome in the spring. Cuckoo, cuckoo, she's singing all day long. Now comes the month of May, when you hear the cuckoo song. That's always a very pretty song. I enjoy that a lot. All right. And then we haven't sung this in a while. I feel like we need to. Love Me Do by John Lennon, Paul McCartney. Yeah, you ready? Get a little groove on, a little dancing, a little singing. Get us going for Monday. All right, here we go. Love, love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please love me do. Oh, love me do. Love, love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please love me do. Oh, love me do. Someone to love, somebody new, someone to love, someone like you. Love, love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please love me do. Whoa, love me do. Someone to love, somebody new, someone to love, someone like you. Love, love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please love me do. Oh, love me do. Yeah, love me do. started dancing, right? I couldn't help myself. All right. And it's always a fun song. All right, my last song for today is, I'm sure you've heard it. Who's heard Hello to All the Children of the World? Yeah, a lot of you have. But I just learned it on the ukulele. It's not that hard. But I forgot about the second verse. So bear with me on the second verse. And maybe it's new to you, the second verse. All right. Hello, 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 bonjour, buenos dias, good day, guten tag, konnichiwa, ciao, shalom, dobre dien, hello to all the children of the world. We live in different places from all around the world. We speak in many different ways. Though something might be different, they're children just the same. We all like to sing and play. Hello, bonjour, buenos dias, good day, guten tag, konnichiwa, ciao, shalom, dobre dien. Hello to all the children of the world. There are children in the deserts and children in the towns and children who live down by the sea. If we could meet each other to run and sing and play, and then what good friends we could all be. Hello, bonjour, buenos dias, good day, guten tag, konnichiwa, ciao, shalom, dobre dien. Hello to all the children of the world. Hello, hello to all the children of the world. Not too bad. That's always a very pretty song. And that is by Nancy Klein. So that is a very pretty song. And you know what? I think we need a lot of those kind of songs right now. Because we are all lovely people. Doesn't matter, right? Okay. That are our songs for today. I have a book that... I do have a book. Here we go. That I am not sure if anyone has read. So I'm very curious to know. This series of books kind of goes with books that are like, How Are You Peeling? Has anyone heard that one? When Sophie gets angry, really, really angry. Who's read that one? This one's called A Bad Case of Stripes. It's by David Shannon. Can you imagine? Okay. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There are so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror, and then she screamed. Doesn't matter what other people think. Her mother ran into the room, and she screamed too. Oh my heavens, she cried. You're completely covered in stripes. This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. Do you feel all right? She asked. I feel fine, Camilla answered. But just look at me. You get back in bed this instant, her mother ordered. You're not going to school today. Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was also afraid of what other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything was normal, but when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. Not very nice for people laughing, huh? The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. Poor Camilla. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They are afraid those stripes are contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Poor Camilla. I feel bad. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialist. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grupp, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialist went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed and tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grupp. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not the chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Grupp. Then they filed out of the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called. But this time, instead of the specialist, he brought the experts. Dr. Gord and Dr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered, Dr. Gord finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. "Or possibly some form of a bacteria," said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," added Dr. Gord. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers again back at the lab," Dr. Gord explained. "We'll call you when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. Whoa. The creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. Poor Camilla. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said. "Breathe deeply and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," groaned Camilla. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. Can you see her? Here's her eyes. Here's her nose. And there's her mouth. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump as sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head, "what we have here is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said, "these might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big heaping plateful of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." Is that true? She loves them. "Oh dear," the old woman said sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old lady walk away. Those beans would taste so good. Being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she's been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. Said Camilla. Once you start telling the truth and being honest about yourself, huh? It's important. Very important. Suddenly, The branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. The real Camilla was deep inside. Afterwards, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of the stripes again. Be who you are. Don't worry what other people think. What makes you special. I hope you enjoyed that book today. I thought that was a really good fitting book for this week in our songs. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday. And some of you, I'll see you in class tomorrow. And I will see everyone else on Wednesday for a fun project. All right. Bye.